for the former Soviet Union left Rhein-Main Air Base in Germany. During the 2-week relief effort, more than 4.5 million pounds of food and medical aid will go to orphanages, schools, and retirement homes in the Commonwealth of Independent States. Secretary of State James Baker, German Foreign Minister Hans-Dietrich Genscher, and other members of the international community were present for the ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think it only right that the United States military is sharing in this vanguard of hope. It is right because the men and women of the American Armed Forces have never thought of themselves as war makers, but rather as peacemakers. As they prevented war, now they can help build a new peace.
Preparations for Operation Provide Hope have been going on now for nearly a week. Senior Airman Bill Schnorr went behind the scenes at Rhein-Main Air Base Saturday for a look at what it took to get the cargo ready to fly.
Members of Rhein-Main's 435th Aerial Port Squadron spent their weekend packing food and medical supplies for Operation Provide Hope. Some 300 people from the 435th and 3 other units prepared hundreds of pallets of food and medicine for the trips east.
It's been a pretty big job. We kind of compare it to a large mobility deployment out of here, or even Operations Desert Storm or Desert Shield.
All the cargo must be trucked to Rhein-Main from other places. Medical supplies, for instance, came from the Army's 7th Medical Command warehouse in Pirmasens. The medicine is all pre-sorted, but the food is not. That makes an even bigger job for the people at Rhein-Main.
Each pallet has 1 box of breakfast meals, 3 boxes of dinners, and then 2 other things, which are all sorts of things: flour, sugar, soup, all sorts of things like that. And what we're trying to do is give each country that we're sending to a variety of things, so everybody won't get the same thing.
On Saturday, heavy fog prevented most of the aircraft destined for Rhein-Main from arriving. Still, there was plenty to do on the ground, and many said they felt good about doing their part to help a former adversary.
I don't think it's really them as an enemy anymore, because we're all human beings. We all have the same needs. I think it was basically the leadership of the country that was our enemies and not the people of the country.
Moving cargo from point A to point B is nothing new for the people at Rhein-Main, but this time the point B is what makes this mission one for the history books. Airman Bill Schnorr, Rhein-Main Air Base.
The Army has released the report from the 6 consultants who traveled to Germany last October to look at USAR's equal opportunity climate. The report says that overall, the consultants found that most of the complaints were the result of administrative problems rather than racial prejudice or sexual harassment. But they also talked to minority soldiers who expressed uncertainty about how they'll be treated during drawdown and whether they have the same chance for advancement as white soldiers. Army officials said they will continue to look into the Commission's findings to determine the underlying causes of the perceptions and what responses are necessary. In financial news, the dollar was down in trade against Germany. Sergeant Jim Frost flew into the Ukraine during the first day of Operation Provide Hope and files this report.
Americans helping meet urgent food and medical needs in the new independent states of the former Soviet Union landed near the city of Kiev in the Ukraine in the early afternoon on the first day of Operation Provide Hope. When the C-5 Galaxy aircraft landed, a large group of Ukrainians greeted the people on board and thanked them for the humanitarian aid they brought.
In any case, I'm very grateful, and I think all Ukrainian people are grateful for the people of United States, and particularly certainly to your president who launched this project, and Mr. Baker, who helped a lot to launch this project, Hope.
As the C-5 was downloaded, military troops of the Ukraine transferred the supplies to waiting trucks. Although the aid will provide immediate emergency assistance, this country of some 52 million people need a lot of help.
In this state of transition, you know, we've lost that one planned economy, and we have no experience in market economy. We don't have any experience in arranging, in managing, in making logistics of a new type of a life. So this is a field where we really need a lot of help.
Just a few years ago, many American military men and women considered these people enemies. But today, that has all changed. Today, the Americans come in friendship and hope the food and medicine they bring will offer hope for the future. Near the city of Kiev in the Ukraine, Staff Sergeant Jim Frost, Air Force News.
The relief supplies for Operation Provide Hope come from as far away as Rotterdam. Supplies are loaded there, driven to Rhein-Main Air Base, and then flown to Russia. Sergeant Rick Sarche reports on how the operation is run in Rotterdam.
Operation Provide Hope is well underway, and thanks to the hard work of the Military Traffic Management Command Europe out of Rotterdam, everything will go as planned. According to Captain Floyd Driver of MITMIC Europe, it's a three-phase operation. The first phase consists of moving cargo from the Benelux and Pisa, Italy to Rhein-Main via trucks.
Phase 2 will empty all humanitarian assistance cargo from the warehouses here in the Benelux area.
The third and final phase is strictly out of Pisa, Italy. 1,260 pallets of bee rations were loaded and transported to Rhein-Main last week. The pallets contain meals ready to eat, commercial meals, and tray-pack meals. There are also bulk food containers with assortments of milk, bread, sugar, and tea, just to name a few. These items will bring relief to a large number of people in the Commonwealth of Independent States. Captain Driver says that really motivates his people to get the job done.
Perhaps starving is a strong word to use, but that is the way that we look at it, that people are starving and need this food. And knowing that certainly goes a long way when it comes to looking at a particular situation and saying that I really need to go that extra mile to be able to ensure that this piece of cargo gets moved.
Phase 3 of the MITMIC Operation Provide Hope is scheduled to conclude Friday, February 14th, when the final pallets of life-saving food will be trucked from Pisa, Italy to Rhein-Main Air Base. From Rotterdam, Air Force Sergeant Rick Sarche, AFN News.
A number of U.S. lawmakers warned European leaders and defense experts during the Munich Conference of Security Policy that the Congress is likely to push for larger troop withdrawals from Europe that the president would like.
The heavy pallets represent 160,000 pounds of hope.
I think it's just the beginning.
This is the first food shipment destined for Moscow. More are scheduled in the days ahead. The multitude of media and the push into the global public eye is handled with grace and gratitude.
Economic reform is not dead, but of course the gifts must be voluntary.
Humanitarian flights are coming from concerned neighbors around the world.
The attitude of the crew when it came in, the attitude of the senior Russian officials who have been present here, the presence of Ambassador Strauss, I think this has been a very positive effect this afternoon.
The foodstuffs being delivered here in Moscow are basic. Kazakhstan late last week. AFN Sergeant Brent Shale reports on the second flight into the city of Semipalatinsk.
Some 80,000 pounds of food was flown into the southwestern Siberian city of Semipalatinsk. The soldiers unloading the goods are from various republics of Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, and other surrounding Asiatic areas. The loaded trucks then deliver the food to a military warehouse in Semipalatinsk. There, it's separated and distributed to various institutions. George D'Angelo is with the State Department's International Development Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance and tells us some of the young men unloading the food at the warehouse will eat some of the food themselves.
Some of these are with children's homes, orphanages, and yeah, yesterday we had some people from the deaf home in, deaf and dumb, and they received it. They received a loan.
Soviet Chaplain Victor Portadoich works with Immigration and Customs and says the people who need the food, such as the elderly and the orphaned, are very thankful. But the rest of the Kazakhis don't need food, but help to build up their economy.
I believe that we now need not the humanitarian help, because it is a drop in our great sea. We now need technologies, and we now need that you study us to make business, because we knew very well how to do the plan and economy.
It was the first U.S. flight to this city of more than 1 million people, and it was the last flight of Operation Provide Hope. Piloted by the Mississippi Air National Guard, this C-141 aircraft made its way into the plains of western Siberia in temperatures of -6 degrees.
For 9 guys to pull together over a 3-week period and perform the mission that we have on time and done it safely and provided the assistance to the Russian people gives us a great sense of accomplishment.
16 tons of medical supplies were offloaded with the help of Russian soldiers and American airmen working together. Many Russians stayed inside their vehicles, watching with curious eyes as the foreigners worked on their turf.
For people in the military, I think it's particularly interesting that we are able to now fly into this place with American planes, when even 2 months ago, this city, Chelyabinsk, where we had a flight 2 days ago, and Perm were all off limits to any foreigners, not just to military, but to any foreigners. These were closed cities.
It took only a few smiles and a couple of handshakes to open the lines of communication. And from that point on, Russians were pleased to meet with their new friends and help each other out.
This, of course, helps our country because we don't have a lot of money and we don't get a lot of pay. We have a lot of older folks and a lot of children. It helps us, and we have to help each other.
Many Russians are optimistic about their future and believe that with the international humanitarian assistance, they will survive.
Operation Provide Hope does not end here. This is only the beginning of what may have laid the groundwork for a long-term solution to the shortage of food and medical supplies in the former Soviet Union. The next step is to provide humanitarian aid on a much larger scale, and that is by land and sea. In Yekaterinburg, on the plains of western Siberia, Linda Frost.